welcome. It's nearly 1 o'clock. My name's Dion Swift and I'm a textile artist and tutor. I am broadcasting every day from my studio in Home Firth. During these kind of strange and difficult times, you can catch me here every weekday, and I have been talking over the last couple of weeks about my work, the different techniques that I use, things that I am finishing in the studio, some of my machines, my sewing machines, because I use free machine embroidery. I'm talking through some of my sketchbooks, different notions from my studio. Hello everybody, nice to see so many of you here on time. And I've also started a project that, if you don't know anything about the virtual log cabin quilt and you haven't made a piece for that yet, then please go to my website and have a look under virtual quilt. There have been a huge number of submissions. I sent out a newsletter this morning, and since then I've had a massive flurry of pings on my phone as submissions come in. Seriously, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, then it's a big community project, a big virtual community project that you can get involved in. It's completely free. It's very easy to do. You don't need to be a quilter to be involved. You don't need to have a sewing machine to be involved. You can hand stitch. You don't need loads of fabric. You just need to create the piece, follow the instructions that are on the website, and create your piece of work with a yellow square in the middle, which is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, the positive vibe that we're all aiming towards. Try and make your piece as colourful as it can be to cheer us all up and help us to stay upbeat. And post your image and your work will be included in a huge virtual quilt. We've had a lot of submissions already from all over the world, from Australia, from Japan, from South Korea. Had one from Lithuania this morning, which is exciting. My grandparents are Lithuanian, so kind of never been, but I feel like I've got a connection there. From Sweden, from Holland, all over the UK. So please get involved. Pencil in the ear, yes. Just leave that to the side next to my cup of tea. So today, what I wanted to talk about is kind of like the positivity scenario in general, and try and stay positive. I've called this series of chats to you every day. Well, they're my studio broadcasts, but they are also my silver lining. And the piece of work that's behind me just there, that big piece, is called Silver Lining, because that's the piece I'm going to complete during this period of time when I'm slightly restricted in where I can go and what I can do. I am making a silver dress, a kind of tunic, and hello everybody, and that again, it's another silver lining. I've got time to make that tunic. I'm just setting in the sleeves at the moment and they're going very, very well. Very pleased. I've actually overlocked all of the pieces before I'm stitching them together. I never do that. So I've got that little bit of extra time to take my time to get it just right. So very pleased. My hair is also going to be going silver over the next few months. Again, maybe that's a silver lining. I'm not sure. But it is definitely about, these talks are definitely about trying to stay positive. So hopefully I offer you some inspiration and a bit of scheduling for your day, something to watch rather than watching the news, because that is depressing. And it keeps me in a schedule and it gives me something to engage with as well. So today, what I wanted to talk about is some old work. I say old work, that's kind of misleading, because in many respects the work that I do at any stage in my creative development is current. This work probably started when I was doing my MA, but then I picked up on it again, or notions of this work, maybe 15 years later. And the samples that I'm going to show you now, and I have I might not show you all of them. I've got a big box full. And this box is the equivalent of a 3-dimensional sketchbook for the project that I called New Grounds, which was at least 10 years ago. And I'm glad you're feeling positive, Anna. That's good. At least 10 years ago, New Grounds was a touring solo show that I had. It did all the knit and stitch shows. It went to Bankfield in Halifax. It went to Miles Mearhan. It went to the Rope Walk. Parts of it were in some of the Welsh galleries. Parts of it were in the Uttoxeter Quilt Show, and parts of it won the Uttoxeter Quilt Show, even though it's not quilt. So some of you may have seen this work. The work that I'm going to show you is the samples prior to the development of larger pieces. And it's a 3-dimensional sketchbook. So a sketchbook to me is a way of working stuff out, trying ideas out. We have subtitles today. Oh goodness, that's a new thing. Trying and testing and exploring, not worrying about whether something comes to a definite conclusion, but testing the waters nevertheless. So within this project, I used a lot of cotton organdy. Can you see? And this is a piece of cotton organdy that has some very simple stitch on it. It's pleated and then printed. Cotton organdy, I love working with cotton organdy because it's very fine. This particular one is very even in its warp and its weft. It's from Whaley's, this one. Others that I've come across are a little bit lumpy and slubby in patches, but this one is very, very even. Very expensive, unfortunately, but such is life. And it kind of is sharp when you feel it. When you feel the edge of it and you cut into it, it feels very harsh and sharp, but it is very elegant as well and very beautiful as a fabric. I particularly like it. It's kind of got similarities with paper, a very fine tracing paper that's very crisp. You feel like you can fold it and press it with your fingers. So this was about distortion of ideas, distortion of an image and the breaking up of an image. No, there's one piece. I made pieces like this that were about 6 or 7 foot tall and long, much wider, also with print on top. And I'm showing you these now because I got them out because this is something that we touch on in the embroidery workshop, which starts next week. And straight stitch is so often overlooked, and it kind of frustrates me. You all want to run with a sewing machine. You all want to do really heavy free machine embroidery, which to me is like cantering or galloping along. And maybe you overlook some of the basic stitch because, I don't know, maybe you think it's too basic. I don't know. But it can do beautiful, beautiful things. And more often than not, people just zoom over that. To me, straight stitch is walking. And I believe that you have to walk really beautifully before you can move on to a bit of a jog or a gallop, which to me is, you know, could be the equivalent of the free machine embroidery. So don't overlook straight stitch is what I'm saying. I've got another little sample here that uses organdy again and straight stitch. So there's organdy, I'm going to try and bring it up a bit closer, organdy and wool, cutting and cutting through and then stitching and waving in different directions, but with different types of fabric, so that you get a translucent feel and a lot of movement. Hi Claire. This one, now if you've been following me for a while, like a long while, this was an image that was on the front of my website way back, and this was a really key image. You have to imagine this, one little bit out the way, as a magnified version of a stitch. That's how I saw it when I made it. This is kind of an enlarged maquette of my vision of enlarged stitches. So each one of these blue bits of pipe is a big stitch. The smaller version of this is somewhere as well. But this is made with a piece of hardboard, some plastic tubing and bits of plastic. Okay, you can see that. And I like the way that the light reflects and oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Refracts. No, that's wrong. I don't know what word I'm trying to say, but reflects and contorts, maybe, is what I'm looking for. There's another little one with straight stitch. I like the sound of this one because it's plastic. And I have, it's almost like a version of faux chenille, but with plastic. Let me have a quick delve into my box of bits to see what's next. This continued the notion of distortion, and I've got a big line of red through the organdy here that's Bonder webbed on, and then I've pleated, and I like the way that the edge distorts. Can you see? I'm quite enjoying this because I haven't seen these for a long time. And those of you who are joining me on the embroidery workshop next week, we're going to look at these maybe in a little bit more detail on one of the live videos for the workshop. It's a little extra that I haven't done before, but I'm going to put it in this time. This one, this is a big piece of felt, and it's got kind of filaments in it. It's like almost a big book. Can you see that? I haven't really shown anybody a lot of these before. During the Knit and Stitch show, when this was showing 10 years or so ago, maybe not that much, but maybe it was. I had cabinets that were almost like open sketchbooks where a lot of these things were displayed. However, you couldn't actually touch them, but these have always been very prominent pieces in that collection of work. These pieces here, these filaments, are embellished. There's two bits of fabric embellished together, so needle punched together. Let me have another look. Here's one here. Oh, it's another version. So, more straight stitch, more organdy. Don't know what you can see. So here I'm using straight stitch, but on the bias. And if I give it a pull, it kind of opens up the splits between the stitches, opens up the cuts that I've made. Can you see? So this fabric, it feels really kind of, you can hear it. It scratches you. It's really harsh. It looks beautiful, but the idea is that it's not necessarily pleasant to you. It's I always feel that organdy would cut you. It would kind of like stab you in the back, whilst having a beautiful face, if that makes sense. It's kind of, you can feel it having a go at you, and that was relevant for the particular concept that I was working with. I say concept, wasn't a concept, it was what I was feeling at the time. It's the stuff that I needed to get out there. It's another version of that, not bias stitched this time. There's a little bit of box smocking here. I didn't really use that in the project, but very relevant nevertheless. Another version of pleating. So using the organdy again, and pleats of pleats. So can you see this structure? I'm going to put my hands in that other side. An ice queen material, Alice, yes. An ice queen. Stab you. That's what it'll do. It'll get you. Here's another one of those felt pieces. And there's bits of organdy in there as well. Oh, this was a big long one. So this kind of hangs, and all these filaments fall outwards. Some of them are in organdy, black organdy this time, and some of them are needle punched embellished pieces that have got print on there. And this was quite a long one. And they've been in a box for a while, so they're faring fairly well. It's another version of kind of pleating up and using, again, just using straight stitch. This is walking. If you're just joining now, I'm talking through a box of samples, which is almost like a three-dimensional sketchbook, and I'm really talking about how beautiful and overlooked straight stitch is. If you use straight stitch with a beautiful fabric, or even an ugly fabric, you know, but if you use straight stitch in the right way, then you can make amazing things. But everybody wants to just zoom by it, and they don't think, they don't give it enough weighting, in my opinion. So it's one of the things that we cover in my embroidery workshop. So my embroidery workshop isn't actually all free machine embroidery. There's some straight stitch in there because I want to teach people to love straight stitch as well, and to get the most out of it, and to celebrate the fabric that they work with in a very simple way, in a very honest way as well. And also I'd like to teach you to walk really well, really beautifully, and to me straight stitch is walking. So yes, a good reminder, Linda. I hope so. Straight stitch is like walking. Walk beautifully, walk elegantly, and more people will notice you than they will if you are galloping. Just saying. Other little bits and pieces here. More straight stitch on the bias. So if you pleated on the bias and just give it a little pull, look what happens. Lovely. This has got a little bit of print on as well. And pleats. Sounds nice, this fabric. If you enjoy these videos every day, I need to ask you to, because I, do this to keep myself entertained, entertain you, but I would hope that in exchange you might share the video with people that you know, and firstly let them enjoy it. Can you see the light coming through that? Let them enjoy it, and give me a follow, give me a thumbs up, something like that. Give me a recommendation, maybe. All those things. It's kind of an exchange. That would be lovely. So a bit of faux chenille, but faux chenille on again on organdy. So it's just straight stitch. That's the back, and if you use fabric on the bias, then you can make faux chenille. Okay. Oh, what else have I got? Oh, I did like this. This is kind of like almost like a bit of bunting, but it's got a red line running through it. Can you see? And actually, this red thread that runs through here was my Gran's. It was in her collection of stuff that I've now used up. I've used it all. And it was kind of really important that I used this, because this was in my 40th year that I made this work. And when I turned 40, I realised how important Gran and Gran's sewing machine was to my career. And so I suppose using some of her threads in this particular project way back then was a nod to Gran and a thanks. Both my Grans were very textile-y, both knitters, but my Gran Miller, who lived near us in the Midlands at the time, she taught me how to sew, and I spent a lot of time with her when I was younger, and she was one who taught me to sew. So this is kind of a bit of a nod to Gran, and this was a lovely red linen-y thread that was in her kit of stuff that came my way. What else? We've got lots of paper. Oh, there's another sketchbook. I haven't looked at this one for a long time. I'll have a quick flick through. I might need to. I'm going to watch it as well. Lots of notes. I might show you this in a different day. I haven't looked at it myself for years and years. Not really sure what's in it. Lots of drawings, compositions. It's pretty minimal. Had a similar aesthetic then. Kind of bits of basic mono printing in there as well. There you go. I'll show you that in more detail another day. Forgotten all about that one. It's quite nice when that happens. Oh, there's bits of folded paper. Oh, there's another sketchbook. Jeez. I will show this one another day. I remember that one beautifully. Yes. A bit more of Gran's red thread. You see that? Nice thick sample, that one. Ooh, what else we got? A bit more of Gran's red thread. These things feel really nice. It is like a little bit like coming home, actually. A bit more of the red thread. Here's a piece, unravels. This was really important, this one, because when I made this, it directly led to the big hangings that I made. Every centimetre I've stitched on a filament of organdy, and these filaments here, these are sharp, harsh tongues ready to whip you down, but they look really beautiful. They're very curly at the moment, a bit like my hair, I didn't just make them because they're beautiful. I made them because they fitted the project. They answered or dealt with questions that I was dealing with at the time, and they move, they distort this image, they lots and lots and lots of small elements coming together means that you can't have one really tight goal. You can't have one really, really tight image. It's slightly distorted, or in this case very distorted. And often in meetings, that's how I feel. Everybody's meant to be going that way, but kind of it's a bit like herding cats. So you see, I'm enjoying looking at these. But there you go, I'm going to leave it like that. It's a little Aladdin's cave in that box. And if you would like to join me on the embroidery workshop next week, we will have a deeper delve into this box in a private little video. Yeah, going to leave it there today. I will be back on Monday at 1 o'clock. Thanks, Carol. If you haven't yet made a piece of work for the virtual quilt, then what are you waiting for? Please go and have a look and join in. You can see the big quilt on my webpage. Just scroll down the on the virtual quilt page on my website, and right at the bottom, every day or so I add a new batch of squares of images, and it's making the quilt bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So please have a look on there and find your piece. If you've only just submitted your quilt block, then I maybe haven't got around to posting the new ones up yet. I am doing quite a lot of admin at the moment, so give me a while, all right? And I will see you next week, 1 o'clock. If you've got any queries, I might not write back to you, but I will try and add the response to that query in one of my daily feeds, one of my daily broadcasts instead. Okay? So, 1 o'clock Monday. Thanks for watching. Please share this. I'd be very grateful if you shared it. Cheers. Bye.